We got to make life make sense. In order to understand economics, you have to become a student again. A lot of y'all tend to say, yo, I want to be this, I want to be that. How are you going to be this and that when you're not willing to be a student? It's impossible.
Welcome to the Don't Let That Go Over Your Head podcast, starring Q the Boss.
Yo, 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 yo. Welcome back to another episode of Don't Let That Go Over Your Head podcast. They call me Q the Boss. And today we talking about making life make sense. Make it make sense. Today we talking about making it make sense, right? I don't think people really understand what that means. Make it make sense. You know, we all have goals, we all have dreams, we all have aspirations. And this is not an episode of shooting down dreams and goals, but it's about making things make sense, right? You want certain goals and plans to be met, but yet and still you don't understand what it entails, right? Last week we were talking about the average person that becomes a millionaire. They don't even talk about statistics. They don't even show us realistic facets. Most people don't understand if you cannot sustain $1,000, you'll never have $10,000, right? If you bad with small amounts of money, you're going to be bad with big amounts of money. And for those who don't understand that everything has steps, you know? But it seems like people don't understand that it takes steps. You know, don't be uncomfortable with the steps. There are about 22 millionaires in the U.S. That is 8.8% of the U.S. adults are millionaires. 33% of U.S. millionaires are women. 76% of millionaires in the U.S. are white. And white people account for 60% of the U.S. population. Let me say that one more time. There is about 22 million millionaires in the U.S. That is 8.8% of U.S. adults are millionaires. 33% of U.S. millionaires are women, right? 76% of millionaires in the U.S. are white. And white people account for about 60% of the country's population. So what I'm trying to say is, guys, it's not that it's not doable, right? But we don't have real plans. I've noticed that a lot of people want certain aspects of life, but they're not making it make sense, right? You cannot be bad with money and expect to be wealthy. Let's just call it what it is. Wealthy people tend to be very frugal. And the fact that they're frugal, it ultimately allows them to elevate their lives. It is impossible to a magnitude to elevate your life if you don't even have a certain level of discipline that it entails you to be at a certain smaller level. When you want to reach different levels, you got to have a certain level of mentality. It takes a different mentality to get to next levels in life. But the problem is we're going to sit back and say, oh, it's maybe not meant for me. It's not meant for you because you're not willing to do what it takes to get there. And that's a harsh reality. A lot of people don't have what it takes, and they don't see it takes you starting with working on oneself, right? We look at a lot of things in our life like things are not going the way we want. And things won't go the way you want because life is not designed like that. The person that has things going the way they want is the person that put in work to make things go the way they want. Life is about finding the direction, right? And once you find a direction, you ultimately have to follow the directions to get to the results you want. Some people don't want to follow directions, right? They want to keep going off-road and wonder why they end up in poor situations. You're going to continuously end up in bad situations if you can't stay on the course. It takes an extreme level of discipline in order to reach certain levels. Let me say that again. It takes extreme levels of sacrifice in order for you to get to certain levels, right? We all talk about this millionaire six-figure status. We talk about all of these statuses, right? But I've noticed that tons of people don't really understand what it takes to get to these levels. We got to make life make sense, right? And that's the issue. Life won't just make sense just because of the fact that you think it makes sense, right? You could break all the dollar bills in life and ultimately get back change, but it still ain't going to make sense. All the dollar bills, all the $20 bills, all the $40, you're not going to make it make sense, right? Because you're not willing to make change. And there's a drastic change that it entails for you to get to where you want to get to. Let's just call it what it is. Today we got a call-in number, guys, 516-253-1150. Call in right now. Let's talk about it. Let's make life make sense. Let's have these conversations. I've noticed that a lot of people who should be trying to hear these conversations, they're the most evasive. But yet and still, they don't realize they're never going to reach certain levels by being evasive. If you're avoiding truth, you're ultimately adapting or absorbing a lie. And if your mind keeps living a lie, it's ultimately going to deny and falsify its mind. And your mind will be falsified and you'll think a certain way based on your mentality. Understanding success takes a certain level of mentality. Failure takes a certain level of mentality. But a lot of us allow ourselves to believe that we're either A, overly special, or B, we're not good enough. It's not about not being good enough, because the tortoise will always outperform the hare. Because the tortoise, one thing it shows about of the tortoise and the hare is someone that was gifted opposed to someone that was disciplined. You have to have discipline. Every time I tell people on this live that I see myself as the tortoise, I have discipline. I will outperform. I can walk in my house at 4 o'clock in the morning and ultimately still be running around at 8 o'clock in the morning, not making an excuse. Yes, I'm tired, but I'm not tired enough that I'm not going to chase my dreams, right? I'm not tired enough that I'm going to make an excuse for me not to win. I'm not tired enough where I'm going to keep making excuses because I understand that there are only but so many hours in a day. But yet and still, most people who want the certain levels will ultimately continue to make excuses. It don't work like that. It's about sacrificing. It's about committing yourself, right? We overly indulge on other people's lives, but we don't overly indulge on fixing our own. I find that to be crazy, right? The 666 woman. Let's talk about that. Right, my ladies, I'm not taking no jabs. I'm not taking no shots. I'm talking truth today. The 666. 6 figures, 6 foot tall, right? With a 6-pack. This is what a lot of people wish they can create or find. We live in a fairy tale world, ladies, right? And man, you with your superficial ways also. You expect a woman to have children and still have the perfect body, right? This is kind of sick, right? This is the culture we live in, where everything is so superficial. I'm going to tell you something. The superficial mind will ultimately get superficial results. When I look at certain people's lives, I can see why. Because either A, they live in a fairy tale world, or B, they don't have the mentality that it entails to get there. I'm going to tell you something. Let's have this conversation. Right, ladies, 666, 6 figures, 6 foot tall, right, with a 6-pack. Let's just say this guy exists, right? And I'm just asking my ladies, I don't want to be insulting, but I'm asking you truthfully. This is the perfect man, ideally, right? He's in check with his emotions. He's secure with himself. He makes good finances. He's done all of these great things, but yet and still you believe that this guy wants you when you haven't really built yourself back up, right? Let me say this again. This 666 guy, 6 figures, 6 foot tall, with a 6-pack, right? You expect this guy to want you. I'm going to tell you something. Today I had a disagreement with a woman, and I don't tell lies. I'm into telling the truth. She asked me a question, right? And the question was, what do you think that most men are looking for? I said the problem with most women when dating, they look for these particular men, right? They want these high-value men. I'm going to tell you ladies something. The lady's going to get mad when I say this. High-value men don't chase women. Why would this guy work his behind off, become the elite earners and the elite man of earth, but yet still believe that he needs to run behind a woman? Everything about him is chasing and making his woman happy. I'm going to tell you something, ladies. The men that are high earning and high value men, they pursue their lives more than they pursue relationships. So ladies, those that want those high value men, you have to be logical. You got to look at it like, yo, this guy's going to be very, very busy. He's going to be adamant about his beliefs. He's going to be adamant about his pursuing. He's going to be adamant about his goals. I don't see a man working 30, 40 years of his life, ultimately finally seeing some success and then just give everything and worry about you. I don't see that happening. We got to be realistic. We live in a fairy tale world, right? This is the superficial mentality that we have. There's a lot of people in this world that are very superficial, and they think without logic. There's no common sense. Everything is disbelief because they feel like they're special. I hate to be that bearer of bad news. No one is special. Special is an acquired thing, right? You can force yourself to become special by doing the things that the abnormal aren't willing to do, right? That could make you special when you're saving everybody else is wasting, right? When you're willing to go back to school when everybody else is crying about their lives, that could make you special. But if you're doing the average things, that'll make you special. That means you're just average, just like everyone else. We have to live in a reality, right? You got to make life make sense. A lot of people aren't making life make sense, right? They're not willing to make the necessary changes, but they expect things to just happen. That's impossible. That is a sick, delusional mind, right? It's impossible if you're not making it make sense. That's like me saying I want to be a doctor, but I'm not even enrolled in school. How am I going to be a doctor? That doesn't even make sense. You got to make it make sense. Everything has to make sense. My life got better when I started making it make sense. I started looking at myself and say, yo, okay, let's sit down and do something called self-evaluation. A lot of people need to do something called self-evaluation. Let's sit down and take a piece of paper, right? Somebody in my studio right now, give me a piece of paper, please. Anybody? Hey, give me a piece of paper. We're going to do this together, right? Pen, piece of paper. We're going to do this together. And the reason why we're doing it is because I want to have a conversation with you guys. You know, here at Don't Let That Go Over Your Head podcast, we family. And we have to be real logic. We have to be real practical, right? We ain't got no paper. Dre stole everything. You know how it goes, Dre. But listen, take a piece of paper and you sit this piece of paper in front of you. Make sure it's blank. And the reason why it's blank, because the things that you're going to write on this paper is going to help you pursue becoming the next better you. Look at this piece of paper now, right? Because we got this piece of paper in front of us, right? The piece of paper is blank. And this is how your mentality has to be at this point. You have to undigest most of the things that you were taught to bring into things in your mind that are new. In order to change your mentality, you have to allow yourself to get rid of all the things that were bad, right? A lot of our teachings are bad, and that's what it is. Like, I realized that my results was bad because I didn't think right, and that's the mentality. See, look at yourself as that blank sheet of paper. When you got that blank sheet of paper in front of you, what you do is you start writing down what you want to be, right? Manifestation is real, but manifestation don't exist if you don't put in work. I hear the word manifestation a lot. Manifestation isn't real because the Bible says faith without work is nothing, right? Shout out to Sarah from UK. What up, Sarah? Right? But this is what we need to understand. When we have these conversations, you need to look at yourself as that blank piece of paper. And as you're writing, right, you start telling yourself truth, okay? Pros, cons. Guys, stay with me. One side of the paper is our pros. One side of the paper is our cons, right? Let's just have a conversation about things that it takes to be successful. You got to have discipline. You got to ask yourself right now, do I have discipline? If you know you don't, you put it on your con side, right? You write it on your con. So I don't have discipline, right? Now you got to work on this. That we got to create the new person we want to become, right? Am I loyal? Okay, I'm a loyal person, right? I could put that on my pro side, right? So now you're not disciplined, but you're loyal, which is a good trait, right? Now you got to ask yourself, am I making any kind of money? Okay, I don't make enough money. So let's put that on the con side. When you put that on your con side, you start saying, okay, I got to work on getting more money, right? Because it takes money to make money. Let's just have this conversation. It takes money to make money, right? So many people believe they're going to make money without money, unless you got an extreme skill, right? That's the reality. It takes money to make money. Let's call it what it is. We got to make things make sense. Shout out to Mojo from Denmark, right? But this is the conversation we need to have. A lot of us get so captivated by the false mentalities because it is easier to fail than it is to be successful, right? Because it don't take discipline to fail. You know what it takes? It takes laziness. It takes the unwillingness to do anything, right? It is so much easier to fail than it is to be successful. And a lot of people don't see that they're willing to do more unsuccessful things thinking that they're going to be successful. It's impossible. We got to make life make sense. Someone call in right now, 516-253-1150. Someone call in right now. Let's have this conversation. We making life make sense today. Someone call in right now, 516-253-1150. Let me say that one more time, 516-253-1150. Somebody call in right now. Let's have this conversation. We making life make sense, right? You'll never become your better self if you're not making life make sense. See, the problem is we want to change the mathematical equations. 1 + 1 will always equal 2. But the problem is if we don't feel comfortable with the way it equals, we want to change the mathematical equation to ultimately accommodate us. Life don't accommodate nobody. Life it rolls with the person that rolls with the punches, that can get in, get out, and keep fighting. Those are the people that are successful. Everyone always sees the end result, but they don't see the journey. You got to look at the fact that that person walked miles and miles and miles on bare road with glass, right? Look at, he walked on a road with glass, barefooted, to get to success. He didn't let the pain of his feet stop him from getting to where he wanted to be. Just imagine walking 100 miles, right? I'm going to say this one more time. That person that you see is successful. You know, we got guys in the studios, they don't pay attention, so they a little rough. But we got guys, right, that walk 100 miles, right, barefoot, on top of glass, right, to get to success. But you don't even want to walk on sand to get to success. See, that's a major problem. You want to do the little things, but you want the greater things. There is no great results without great sacrifices. We're going to call it what it is. Caller, what's going on, caller? What's going on? Caller. Caller, what's going on, caller?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you now. What's going on?
I was wondering, what's your advice on being surrounded with the right team?
So being surrounded by the right team? You said being surrounded by like the right team? You listening?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to be honest with you. Truth be told, look, I'm going to use a scenario. You know, Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, they weren't friends, but they understood that they needed each other to win a championship, right? So the reality of all things is your team is the most vital thing you choose in life, and a life partner also. Because those are the things that's going to help you get to the next levels. Because everyone that's pursuing their better selves at moments get very discouraged. Anyone that say they never got discouraged, I will call them a liar to their face. There are moments of disparity. There are moments of stress. There are moments of aggravation. There are moments of everything, but yet and still, the people you are around, either A, going to keep you motivated, or B, allow you to quit. And if you go tell that big idea to a small-minded person, they're going to ultimately tell you the small idea. I think you should quit, right? And if a person is around you like, nah, go more, go harder, push, you're more prone to push through. And that's reality. What do you think about that?
100%. I'm 100%. I agree. I'm at an age kind of where a lot of the people my age we're just competing with one another instead of like working together and making things happen.
How old are you? You hear me?
I'm 23.
You want to hear something funny? And I've noticed this though.
23.
You might be a lot older mentally than a lot of the 23-year-olds that you're around. So what happens is that 23-year-old that's that more mature, you may have to put yourself around bigger and older people because you may possess a different mentality from them, right?
Yeah.
And then you have to understand that you're an eagle, and eagles, they tend to fly alone. You have to be willing to fly alone because it's not going to always be anybody that's going to come up to your altitude is people that want to be there with you. That makes sense?
Yes, sir.
I definitely appreciate you. Listen, but your circle matters a lot, bro. And just understand the people you're around are a reflection of yourself, right? Success mirrors success. Unsuccess mirrors unsuccess, right? So be around people that's pushing you to be your better self, and you'll ultimately see you pushing yourself even further. Trust me. We don't even know our own limits. We have no clue. Nah, I definitely appreciate the call in, caller. Thank you, my brother. I appreciate you so much. Yeah, bro. So that's what he just called in for about his circle. You know, when you have a circle, that it matters. It matters a lot because you are a reflection of it, man. You got to realize that you are who you keep around you. We got to make life make sense. I remember years ago, I used to always look at trying to appease and satisfy people who weren't doing anything with their lives. I noticed that I was a giant in a very small room. And the problem with being a giant in a small room, you either A, outgrow the room, or B, you adjust to the room, right? And more people will adjust to the room that they're in opposed to becoming a giant in the room. You got to be comfortable being a giant in the room. I told myself years ago, I never wanted to watch movies. In my life, I wanted it to be a movie, right? And I didn't want my life to just be a movie. I wanted my life to be a movie that a person didn't say, yo, I watched that movie. I wanted my life to be a movie that changed people's lives. That was always my goal. I've always wanted to change people's lives and impact people's lives. but I had to make life make sense. I can't impact nobody's life if my life ain't making sense, right? I had to work on myself. And the more I worked on myself, the more I started seeing things get better for me. And then I've noticed that a lot of us don't want to do that. You can't be uncomfortable with the fact that you're not being your better self today because it takes time. And everyone understands that everything takes time. Anything of value takes time. If a person tells you that no success takes time, they're not successful, chances are. And the reason being is because they don't understand it. I remember years ago, I used to go to this store, and I'm going to tell you a quick story. It's called Herbalife, and my guy is on the live. He can validate this right now. I used to go on the Herbalife, and I used to sit there with a book, right? And I used to write down my ideas. I used to write the Empower Dynasty thing down, and I used to write down what I was going to do, right? And I used to write that I was going to buy stocks, and I was to write down all my goals, right? And the one thing I've noticed is, initially, what was scary about me is I was rushing my process. I wasn't trusting the process. Once I started trusting the process, I stopped measuring where I was today and started looking at the steps I was making to become where I want to be. See, when you're overly watching behind you in your rearview mirror, there is no way you can drive good going forward. The rearview mirror is to show you at seconds you may glance, but you're not to continuously look back in your rearview mirror. If you constantly looking in your rearview mirror, you're gonna crash because you cannot go forward, right? Good will keep looking in your rearview mirror because your rearview mirror is gonna keep reminding you what's behind you. And that's what you need to do. At times, you do need to look back and remind yourself how far you've gotten. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you overly indulging on that rearview mirror, you're going to crash. And that's what a lot of people are doing. They're crashing because all they do is watch the rearview mirror. They're not looking forward. See, sometimes in life, you got to look forward to the bad things that come too. Because the bad things that come prepare you for the good things. You cannot enjoy success if you don't know what unsuccess feels like. You cannot enjoy love when you've never been hurt. See, some people think they're in love and they're in great relationships because they've never been in any other relationships. So they tolerate dysfunction. They tolerate toxic. A lot of people are very toxic, and they tolerate it because of the fact that they don't know any difference, right? I was talking to a girl the other day. She said she didn't know what a good man was. And I said, why is that? She said, because she's never been around one. Anytime she explains the man that she's dealing with now, everyone has something to say about her relationship because of the fact that they don't know anything better. Everything they've seen in their existence is not real, right? It's the people that come along to tell them what they want to hear. That's the mentality in the world we in today. A lot of people are very unconfident to allow the world to see who they are. It takes a very confident person to get on this live and allow people to see my flaws and what I should be and what I want to be and my future goals. It doesn't matter because I know I'm working on myself every day. That's how you make life make sense. As long as you're working on pursuing your better self, you are the real MVP. How are you going to win the game if you never even got yourself in the game? How are you going to win? You're playing from the sideline but expecting to win, right? There are tons of people right now who need to sub themselves in their own game. I think someone should blow the whistle and give themselves a round of applause. And why do I say give yourself a round of applause? Because you know where you started. You know, we so caught up in where we are today, but we can't see where we came from. Yo, that rearview mirror is you overly indulging on seeing what's behind you. That's why I said a second ago, you need to glance in that rearview mirror and see how far you've come. Because again, you can't enjoy where you are today if you can't understand where you've been. And a lot of people are like that. They overly indulge where others are. See, I'm going to tell you something. Sometimes you may shine later, but you shine brighter. Sometimes you may grow slower, but guess what? You grow bigger, right? And that's the issue. Sometimes you may shine later, but you'll shine brighter. Some days you might grow later, but at the end of the day, you grow bigger. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. You can't sit back every day and say, I'm not where I want to be. But sometimes in life, you are where you should be because of the fact that you've only done work to put you at this level. And that's the truth, right? Shout out to Lorenzo from South Africa in the building. What's going on, Lorenzo? Right? Compassion is a thief of joy. And I agree 100%. These are the conversations we need to have, right? We got to make life make sense. I've noticed that tons of us are not making life make sense. Someone call in right now, 516-253-1150. Let me say that one more time, 516-253-1150. We making life make sense today, right? We gonna make the necessary steps. Like I said, take out that sheet of paper today and write your pros and your cons. Your pros, you know you're strong at it already, right? Your cons is what you're weak at. And I'm gonna tell you a cheat code to help you with your cons. Let me get 5 people on this live right now to say I want to hear how to cheat fixing my cons. I'm watching right now. Give me 5 people to raise their hand. 5 people. You raise your hand emoji. I'm gonna tell you a cheat to help your cons. 5 cheat codes to helping your cons. We got pros and we got cons. I see one person, Miss E223. Somebody else. I see Crystal. Crystal, what's going on? I see you, the waviest. All right, so this is what we're gonna do. This is how you cheat your cons. I think our parents, since we were kids, had given us the ultimate cheat code. But yet and still, their forefathers gave them this saying. But we ignore the saying, right? There are 3 sayings that I truly believe that are the most truest sayings in life. 1, birds of a feather flock together. 2, you are the company you keep. And 3, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. If you understand those meanings, right? That means the people you allow around you will ultimately either A, become you, or B, they are you. It is so much easier for a person to remove themselves from a bad space and go to a good space and ultimately adjust to the good space. The hardest thing in life is to be the bad person in a bad space and thinking that you're gonna, no, take that back. You can't, it's hard to be a good person in a good room and not see that you're gonna be good. In most cases, if you take a good person, you put them in a bad room, ultimately most people will become bad. It is so much easier to become the room. But when you don't see that you're not around people who are altering your thinking, exposure leads to expansion, right? And a lot of people aren't exposed, so therefore they're not expanding. Your mind will expand based on the exposure. If you're not exposed to life, you won't expand. The mind is clearly a rubber band. And a lot of us aren't stretching ourselves to our mental capabilities. We allow ourselves to believe that we only capable of a certain level. Mentally, I'm always tired, right? Fatigue is natural. But sometimes I think you tell yourself that you're tired so much that you genuinely believe you're tired. I think some people go to sleep and wake up tired because they constantly telling themselves that they're tired. You must make life make sense. You cannot sit on this live right now and say, girl, I want to lose weight, or call your friends talking about losing weight, but every time you turn around, you have fast food restaurants. That don't even make sense, right? And we're going to say that one more time. You can't be the person at fast food restaurants crying about your weight, but yet and still you eating fast food, right? You can't be the person that's looking for a good mate, but yet and still you in the worst places of all places, right? Sometimes you got to change your environment. If a person is not willing to change their environment, they're not willing to change their results. Your results are a reflection of the way your environment is. Most people are a reflection of their results, of the environment they come from. A ghetto person is ghetto because of the fact that they're ghetto and they stay around ghetto people. A ghetto person can be changed, right? If you bring that ghetto person to a new environment and show them that they're loud, obnoxious, and it's not right. It's because they absorb certain behavior problems. You have allowed yourself to believe that this is normal. This is why you think like that, right? It's just like eating. If I grew up eating Spanish food my whole life and you grew up eating Jamaican food your whole life, chances are I think Spanish food is better than Jamaican food. Is it? That's discretionary. That's up to the person's taste buds. But yet and still, if I grew up doing something, I'm going to automatically think it's better because I've normalized the thinking. You got to make life make sense. You can't tell me that behaving a certain way is okay because you've been in environments that are tolerable, right, of that behavior. But if you look at the results of the behavior, you'll see why the person is losing. You're losing because of the behavior. And the behavior is ultimately making you lose. That's a harsh reality. We got to understand and observe our realities. I don't think enough people are sitting back every day watching themselves. Whoever created the mirror was one of the greatest inventors in life, right? Because I'm going to tell you something. Sometimes in life, you have to be willing to take yourself outside yourself and then take a look at yourself. And you'll see how you behave it. I think some people should take a camera and let them record their behaviors all day. You can tell a lazy person they're lazy. You know what they're going to say? I ain't lazy. That's called a defense mechanism. You got to stop defending wrong, right? We defend wrong. That's how we do. Even when we're wrong, we want to defend it. It's called deflecting. You cannot keep rejecting truth and expect to have great results. We got to make this thing make sense, guys. Let's make it make sense, right? Someone call in right now, 516-253-1150. Let me say that one more time. I need someone to call in right now. We're making life make sense today. 516-253-1150. We're making life make sense. No more making excuses. No more with the foolishness. On this podcast, we are very accountable. That's one thing I love about my podcast. We're an accountable family. For all my people on my live that agree we're accountable, raise your hands. We're accountable. I think this is why we're getting better results. Accountability is what changes everyone, right? If you're not willing to see how unaccountable you are, let me say this one more time. In life, the most successful people are the ones who can look in the mirror and say, everything that happens in my life is a reflection of my people I'm around, the places I go, and the things I do. Ultimately will change. In most cases, a person who ended up incarcerated were doing things that ultimately led them to incarceration. In most cases, a broke person, they tend to do things that keep them more broke, right? And it's just the truth. Because before a person is physically broke, they're broke mentality. They have a mentality of a broke person. It's just the truth. You have to think successful, meaning doing things that the successful are doing. Notice that successful people are the most frugal people in the world. But notice the most unsuccessful people are the ones who spend the most money. Now let's make that make sense. Let me say that one more time. The most successful people tend to be the most frugal. But the most unsuccessful people are the most willing to spend. How can you fix that when you're not seeing that the problem is you're spending too much money? Your resources are what buy you time, right? We got to look at money as time. Let me show you something for my people on live, right? This is the problem. I'm going to use a $100 bill. I'll use 100. Let's see if I got one more. There go another 100, right? Let me show y'all something. When we look at life as time, right, we measure money in the time, right? It's just two different $100 bills. Here's the problem with a lot of people that are unsuccessful. Let me break this down. If I worked an hour and I received $100, I worked the second hour, I received another $100. Now I have $200, right? But here's the problem. When I worked the first hour, right, I spent this $100, right? Then I worked the second hour, getting another $100. In my mind, I made this $100 back when I worked the second hour. So when I made this $100, I spent it, right? Then I gave another hour of my life to receive another $100. And in my mind, I made back the same $100. That's not reality. When you understand, you measure life in time. When you had to lose another hour of your life to go get back that dollar, you'll see that you'll stop wasting your money, ultimately keeping you on the hamster wheel. This is the narrative of money. This $100 and this $100, no matter what, if you lost time to receive it, it is not the same $100. Period. When you get this first $100, you should be trying to invest some of that money out of that $100 to ultimately keep you from having to go back to the hamster wheel. There's a narrative that we use over here at Don't Let That Go Over Your Head podcast. We say this all the time. Here's a narrative. We work a job, right? Me and you guys, whoever's on here, stay with me. We work a job. We like our job, right? But ultimately, the job pays us food. So we're getting paid in food. And the reason why we're getting paid in food, because the world isn't about the cash, right? We're talking about food now, right? Food is actually more valuable than liquid right now. Cash. Stay with me. Now, I get food. When I go to work, I get to eat whatever I want. I get filet mignon. I get steak. I get all the good food, right? Here's the narrative. When I go home, my refrigerator is extremely empty. Why? Because everything that I was paid, I either ate are pushed out. That's how it goes with bills. Bills is like all the food that you've eaten. Yes, you work for it, but you were being compensated in food and you had to pay off your debt. And when you paid off your debt, you ultimately had nothing in return. So now when you go home, you have no money, right? So tomorrow when you're hungry again, you ultimately have to get back up and go right back to your job. Ultimately repeating this hamster wheel mentality for the rest of your life. See, the narrative is this. When you go to your job, what you're supposed to do is take some of the food from your job, bring it home, and start planting your own seeds, meaning investing, right? So ultimately, you can go to the hamster wheel less and less and less. When you invest money, ultimately, all you're doing is buying back your time, which is your freedom. When you don't have time, that means you owe somebody time. So someone owns your time, and that's the dilemma. We have to literally understand why making life make sense is we got to realize that our money is the factor that give us back our freedom. America is still a slave country. Let's call it what it is. I'm not going to hold my tongue. It is a slave country, right? It is giving people enough just to keep them coming back. That's what a paycheck is. Just giving you enough for you to come back. In reality, it's easier for you to create a business that's worth millions of dollars than it is for you to work for $1 million. And that's the true narrative. Most people take their jobs more serious than they take things that can potentially make them more money. That's the false narrative. If you're spending more money and more your time focusing all your energy into a plantation, right? That means you will have the results of a field guy. I'm not going to say the N word, but that's the truth. You have the results of it. You got to think as a person that's understanding that you want to control the plantation. Your home is the plantation, and your results is the plantation of what you've done with the resources that you've taken from the plantation. Every job field is a plantation. It's the truth. But a person that doesn't understand that, they tend to keep themselves on a plantation mentality. And then what happens is when they see that you're willing to be the rebel on the plantation, you know what they do? They give you something called a title. Now you have graduated to the house Negro. That's the truth. When you're in the field and you're working a 9 to 5, you are the plantation Negro. When you graduate to a title and they give you a title, now you become the plantation Negro, the house Negro, and you think that you are in a better position. But in reality, you aren't. It's the same results. This same plantation mentality can go through whites, blacks, Hispanics, and everything in between. It's not just black and white. Remember, only 1% of the country's population is wealthy. So we got to make life make sense. It's not a black or white thing. We make everything a black or white thing. But the truth of the matter is, they're not teaching this mentality because they're the beneficiaries of the policies that they created. Here's the mentality. I take my money, right? Look at this. Let's just take out more money, right? I take my money, right? Where you at, Tyler? Let me see your hand, Tyler. Come all closer. It's Tyler's hand. I gave Tyler this money, right? But guess what? At the end of the year, Tyler gave me both of these back, right? I gave Tyler $100. At the end of the year, Tyler gave me back my money. What I did was I got back my principal, and Tyler gave me something called interest. And you know what I do? I keep lending this to keep getting the interest, ultimately allowing myself to not work for money. That's how the wealthy live. The wealthy will lend their interest. I mean, their capital, right? To get them interest. Ultimately living off the interest. That's how the wealthy stay wealthy. If you don't have the capital, you won't be able to receive the interest. Most wealthy people are wealthy because they live off the interest of their money. So if they've created a system where say they have $100 million. Let's lower it a little bit. Let's make the number smaller. Right? Let's say $1 million. If a person has $1 million, right? By lending the money, if they're able to receive 10% on their money, that sounds like they're making $100,000 a year. After taxes, that person makes about $68,000 a year. This is why the wealthy stay wealthy. Because what they do is, when they lend this, let me show this one more time. Tyler, come to me. Ask me, can you say Q, can I borrow money to buy a house? Can I borrow? You know what? I'm going to give you all these stipulations, all these rules and regulations for me to lend you my money to get a house because I realize there's a big difference between an asset and a liability. Watch this. Ask me, yo, Q, can I get money to buy a car? Here you go. Look how fast they give you the money to borrow that car. Because you know why? They realize by lending you the money for the car, it ultimately charges you high interest rates. They make more money in a shorter span of time than they could ever make on their money. Look at the narrative. If they're lending you let's say you bought a $40,000 car. Chances are by the time you pay off that car, you paid $68,000. $68,000. That sounds like $18,000 profit, right? No, $28,000. I'm sorry. $28,000. That's a crazy number. A profit. This is why they do this. And this money that you see right here, they keep doing it with the capital. So now once they get their $40,000 back, which initially is what they paid for the car, right? They keep doing it. And they keep doing it. And they keep doing it. And that's how they live off of the interest of their money. They'll get their 10%, 20%, and they live off of it for the rest of their lives. Ultimately debting you with liabilities. And the sad part about liabilities, you have something called DTI, right? Say it with me, guys. What does DTI mean? Debt to income. Say it again one more time, guys. DTI. Debt to income. The problem with debt to income is that the more you buy liabilities, the more they won't lend you. So now you get oppressed financially because they're only going to lend you based on what you make. And that's a dilemma. We got to make life make sense. In order to understand economics, you have to become a student again. A lot of y'all tend to say, yo, I want to be this, I want to be that. How are you going to be this and that when you're not willing to be a student? It's impossible. Your capital should be more vital to you understanding that this is my freedom. Without this bill, it can't change my life. If this bill is not pushed into an asset, you're going to ultimately put it into something called a liability. And when you put it into a liability, liabilities don't give you back no worth, no gain, no interest, no nothing. That's the reality. But it's a hard thing in America that they're doing. They're debting its people, ultimately keeping the system working against you. But you think you're winning because you drive that fancy car with a high interest rate, right? Your APR's to the moon. But you think you're winning. When you're paying rent and you're not realizing that you're not building nothing called equity, but you're winning. And that's a mentality they want you to do. They want you to live in that apartment and think it's yours. Come to my apartment. You're supposed to look at it as a temporary situation because the whole goal of America, guys, is to own. A person that's not from this country that owns something here is more of an American than a person that don't. And I'm going to say that again. A person that owns a piece of America who was not born here is more of an American citizen than a person that's not because they own a piece of it. It's the truth. But again, someone is going to get defensive and get mad at the truth. Why? Because in reality, the person that owns the property has something called rights, meaning they can vote, they can, anything that's going on in their districts, they have rights. But a person that's renting clearly don't. Someone just called. Right? Someone just called. And this is the mentality. We got to have these conversations. We're not willing to make life make sense. We like to live beyond our means. We like to waste our money. We like to blow the bag. That's what they call it. I blow a bag today. I blow a bag today. Come on, man. We blow the bags today. You got people running around here with $10,000 bags living in the projects. We got to make life make sense. Let me say this again. But when I say this, someone's going to get mad because either A, the shoe fits, and rather than saying, you know what, let me work on fixing this problem, you're going to hate the person that's delivering the message. That's the problem. You'll take a person with a $10,000 bag still living in the projects. I'm going to tell you the craziest thing I see. I don't want nobody to feel mad, but I'm going to say it. I don't care, right? Anytime you go past the projects, it's like a car show. I see some of the greatest cars I've ever seen in my life in the projects. I'm going to tell everybody on my live, we're making life make sense today. Take your body, go to a prominent area. I don't care what part of America you live in. Go to the most prominent areas in your area. Drive around those areas. You're going to see a bunch of regular basic cars, but beautiful homes. Now go around the hood. You're going to see the most elegant cars that you could ever see in your life. But then we blame other people for the poor decisions that we're making. It don't make sense. It don't make sense. Life is not going to make sense when you don't understand narrative, logic, and common sense. Common sense is a superpower nowadays. Most people don't possess it. They don't have common sense. They blow the bag. We're going to do it one more time. I blow the bag today. I blow the bag today. Yeah, you blew the bag today. But now you're still in that same positioning because you're not realizing that your life is going to continuously be broken as long as you allow your mentality to possess this mentality. Life will never make sense. It's like speaking a language that you don't understand. Success speaks a certain language that most people don't understand. Poor people speak a certain language that the rich don't understand. It's two different languages. We got to make it make sense. You cannot transcribe it. We're not writing in Braille. You're not blind. You're just not seeing reality. Most people give themselves a disability because they don't see things that they need to see or hear things they need to hear. That's the reality. You've given yourself a disability. You're not willing to open your mind anymore. You're not willing to be exposed. You're not willing to expand. You allowed yourself to believe that you won a race that you never even started. You won a race that you haven't even started. Ain't that something? And let me guess. I'm going to put nice things around myself because I'm insecure. I want to make myself feel better about what I'm really not. Because as long as people perceive me as that, guess what? I am that. But in reality, you aren't that at all. A loser will always be a loser no matter what you do. My mother said the greatest lines I've ever heard in my life. And I'm going to repeat my mother's favorite lines. My mother used to say, if you take a dirty guy and you put clean clothes on him, say this with me, guys. What is he? Still dirty. My mother said the second line. If you take a broke dude and you put expensive stuff on him, guess what? He still broke. That's the harsh truth. We got this mentality where we believe that if I put these things around me and I make myself look like I'm playing a part, all you're doing is playing Halloween. That's all you're doing. It's Halloween. It's not real. You're not Freddy Krueger because you got on a Freddy Krueger mask. You're not a princess because you put on a costume of a princess. You are every bit of who you are. We got to stop playing Halloween and realize that we got to make life make sense. Too many of us are still playing Halloween. We're posing to be something that we're truly not. And that's the reality. The world is still playing Halloween every single day. We're putting on masks and we're hiding our truth behind these masks. See, an unsuccessful person will put the most successful looking things on them. Gucci, Louis, Prada is nothing different between a 100% cotton Hanes shirt and a 100% cotton Burberry shirt. It is still a cotton shirt. It don't make you more successful. It's the truth. Let's make life make sense. That's what are we gonna say? Oh, you know what? I gotta, one more time, guys. I blow the bag today. I don't do nothing but great. I blow the bag today. That's why you broke. Because you allow these people who are quote unquote influencers to influence your mind to believe that you have to keep up with the Joneses. You got to keep up. My last name ain't Jones, and I'm not keeping up with no Jones. I'm going to run my race, and I'm going to comfortably run my race. Let me say this one more time. My last name ain't Jones, and I'm not keeping up with no Jones. I'm going to run my race, and I'm going to run my race comfortably and happily. At the end of the day, if you think you're doing better than me, let's see how each other live. See, the problem is if we had a show where we lived, a lot of people would be very uncomfortable with their living situation. See, because the world may perceive you as successful, but let's show where you live. And the conversation changed. I blew a bag today. I don't do nothing but great. I blew a bag today. Come on. Let's stop the clownery, the foolery. Let's make life make sense. Life is never going to make sense for those who are not willing to make life make sense. Life is never going to change if you're not willing to do what it takes to change it. Life is never going to happen just because you believe it should happen. That is a harsh reality. Life happens to those who are making it happen and not ones who are just sitting around talking about it. 3 types of people. One is the person that watch it happen. 1 is the person that talks about it happening, and 3 is the person that's making it happen. You got to choose which person you're going to be. I chosen to be the person that's out here making it happen, losing sleep, not crying about my life. When everybody else is in their bed, I'm up chasing my dreams. Because I'm going to tell you something. A dream will stay in your mind until you bring it to reality. And I'm willing to bring it to reality. I'm willing to make the necessary changes because I'm going to make life make sense. You're not going to make life make sense by sitting on your behind every day, right? Too many people are letting days pass them. Every single day, you're watching days pass you by. But you know what you're doing? You're not going to accept the fact that you're the one that's not doing anything special, right? And this is a major mentality, right? Procrastination is an abortion clinic of ideas. Let me say that one more time. I want to say that one more time. I want y'all to hear this. Procrastination is an abortion clinic for your ideas. You're procrastinating, right? You don't want to do anything. You're scared of taking a step. But life will never make sense if you can't take steps. A baby at times fell 100 times before they started walking. But now you believe you're supposed to get up and run. Be willing to fall again. But get back up again and get back up again and get back up. The strongest person is not the person that walks the best. It's the person that fell the most but continue to get back up. That is the strongest person. Harsh reality. You're not strong because you inherited a great situation. You're strong because of the fact that you didn't allow your situation to determine your future. That's a strong person. Whatever you're going through today is temporary. But you got to believe that you are willing to change it. No one's going to give you nothing unless you give it to yourself. I'm going to tell you something. You at a buffet and you taking the bare minimum. Life is a buffet. You got to take everything you want. Because sometimes you're not going to be allowed to go back up and get seconds. You got to take it the first time. And that's the problem. You at the buffet and you're not willing to grab everything you need now. You got to grab everything today. Go after your dreams, chase your goals, and believe that you have to make life make sense. I'm going to tell y'all something, man. Life would have never made sense for me if I wasn't willing to tell myself the truth. Life would have never made sense for me if I wasn't willing to hold myself accountable. Life would have never made sense for me if I didn't tell myself that it's you who are making poor choices, right? I realized that everything in my life was happening for a reason, and it was to bring me to this very moment. Some of the most successful people I ever met have the best stories. Their stories are amazing. Their stories will get you up and make you chase it. I have never physically met someone who started off, I'm talking about a person that started in the back of the race, who didn't tell me that they've been through hell, right? But I'm going to tell y'all something. You got to be willing to walk through hell so you can enjoy heaven. Ain't no such thing. Because last time I checked, we here right now, this is not heaven, right? But you got to go through this. Enjoy this process. Because the processes will teach you to sustain it. How do you learn how to sustain success when you never, ever, ever fell off? It's impossible. The best bike riders I ever met are ones who fell 1,000 times. This is the reality. You cannot know what winning feel like if you never lost. How? We get up every day and we entertain the most negative, foolish conversations and we wonder why our results is very limited. Your results is limited because your mind is very limited, right? Your mind is set at a certain station and won't go past that station. Because you know why? It takes you yourself willing to do more. You're not willing to do any more. You told yourself, I'm done. I'm too old. Oh my God, I'm too old. I can't go back to do this. I'm too old. I'm going to tell you something. You're spitting in the face of your God by saying that. Because if he give you another day to get up and pursue, you should never look at yourself as you're too anything. What you should say is, I'm not willing to. It's not about your age. Because if you go back to school today, right, guys? All my life, you're going back with a different mentality. See, the problem is you're going to look at yourself like, yo, when I was there before, I failed. You failed because you weren't you today. 10 years ago, you weren't the same person. 20 years ago, you weren't the same person. That's why you failed. You went there, you're going there now with a different mindset. You're about to make it make sense. That's what you're about to do. Right? And that's what we need to understand. The mind will only go to the levels that you allow it. Right? When you look at the solar system, right? You see the stars. You got to envision your dream being one of them stars. But right now, you're currently planted feet first on Earth. Yeah, the star sun shines bright. What are you willing to do to go get it? Are you going to build your space shuttle to go up there? Or are you going to sit on Earth and keep staring at that dream? A lot of us are staring at that dream. And that dream is every bit of reachable because there's ways that people have taught us how to go get it. But guess what we do? We sit here and we keep looking at it. Keep dreaming about that star, right? I'm going to tell somebody in this room right now. Somebody in here is a star, right? Only thing that's holding them is they got cement blocks on their own feet. And the sad part about the cement blocks on their own feet, they're the ones that put the cement blocks on their own feet. Let me say this one more time. There's somebody right now who have the ability to be every bit of a star. All of those dreams that they've had in their mind and everything they envision themselves doing, right? Whether being the biggest producers, whether being the highest tree climber, right? Whether being, I had to say that, right? Whether being a big influencer, whatever you want it to be, it's possible. But the problem is it's you who have the cement blocks on your own feet. It's sad that you allowed yourself to cement your feet firm to the ground. But I'm going to tell you something. You got to be willing to jump after your dreams. You got to be able to chase after your dreams, run after your dreams. You cannot sit back and keep blaming the society when you're not seeing that it's you. And that's a harsh reality. We got to make life make sense. We got to make life make sense, right? Someone call in right now before we get out of here today, 516-253-1150. One more time, 516-253-1150. We making life make sense. For those who don't know, every single Sunday we do this, right? I come on here, I don't write none of this scripted, right? There is no script that I write. But yet and still, God speaks to me, and the reason why he speaks to me, because he know I'm passionate about this. I can come on here not worried about falling off, stuttering, or messing up because I know God is leading my words. Every time. Every single one of my episodes on the podcast you go listen to, I've never wrote one script. You know who that is? That's God. That's a gift. And it's about time that I allow myself to use my gift. I'm going to use my gift. God, if this is what you want me to do, to lead the people, I'm going to lead my people. Caller. Caller. Caller, what's going on, caller? Hello? Hello?
Hello?
How you doing, caller? Caller, what's going on, caller?
What's up?
How you doing? What's going on?
Hold on. Can't hear you. Hello?
Yes, I hear you.
Oh, I can hardly hear you. You sound a little muffled. What's up, bud?
What's going on?
Not much. I just, you know who this is. I'm just calling to agree with everything you're saying, man.
I appreciate that, bro. I appreciate that. I definitely appreciate you.
I can hardly hear you, bud.
I said I definitely appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I would love to get on there one day and just, spit with you, bud.
One day
I got a lot of things to add.
We could do that one day. Let's set it up. I'm gonna let you talk to one of the guys. Shoot the DM on it. Don't let that go over your head.
I can hardly hear you, but get back to somebody else.
All right. Yellow. So guys, you know what we're doing right here, right today is we allowing ourselves to pursue our greater selves now. No more excuses. For those who want to call in, we're gonna get up before we get out of here. I want someone to come on here right now, and I want them to give their testimony about what they're willing to do today. I want them to tell somebody on here. The first step to recovery is admitting that you have a problem, right? That's the first step to recovery, right? Let's consider this right now. This whole podcast is Don't Let That Go Over Your Head podcast. This is an institution of help. This is not an institution of judgment. This is not sitting here laughing at someone else's flaws. This is not what we do here. Because I am so unperfect that who am I to look at you with any kind of way? We're here to help build each other. We're here to help mold each other. We're here to help each other grow, right? The other day, God said to me, more people need to hear it. Then share the videos. Someone need to be inspired. Then share the videos, right? You want more people to get this message? Share it. It won't hurt you. There's somebody right now that's contemplating suicide. But we don't see the realities of life. We make everything about us, that we can't see what others are going through. A selfish mind will ultimately have selfish results. And the person that stands alone will ultimately be alone. It is impossible to be successful without others. There is no successful person without help. That's reality. If you look at any sports team, you will never win a championship without help. That's a harsh reality. Caller, what's going on, caller? Speak up a little bit. I can't hear you. What's going on, caller?
I've been on your live, and man, I feel you every Sunday that I get on. I've been through a lot, and it's just time. You can't just, time don't stop for nobody. And I'm on my isolation journey, like I said in the chat, and it's just, you gotta first love yourself before you go anywhere.
I agree.
And I believe in everything that you say. So I just ordered your book too. So
I appreciate
thank you.
I appreciate you. What's your name?
Aaron.
Aaron, I appreciate you so much. Listen, Aaron, I come on here before and I do this for us. When I say us, I'm talking about me, you, and everybody else. This is for us.
Yeah, I would like to come on and tell a little bit of my testimony when there's more time. We can set it up, and because I got a lot to say, but I just wanted to let you know
No, I definitely appreciate that. I want you to know I love you. You hear me?
I love you too.
I appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, guys, this is a family over here, man. And people always say to me stuff like, yo, how do you love someone you don't know? I said, how do you hate someone you don't know? The same way you can ask me the question about something positive, I can ask you the same question on something negative. Look at this question. How do you love someone you don't know? How do you hate someone you don't know? Ask that same question. Look at this narrative. People ask me when I tell people I love them all the time on my live and podcast, and when I see people, I say, I love you. And they say, why do you tell people you love them? I said, why you don't tell people you love them? The same way you can look at somebody with disgust, why you can't look at them with love? The world has to find its own happiness. When a person has found their happiness, it's my guilty pleasure of seeing others happy. It's a pleasure for me to see someone become their better self, right? And the reason being is because I believe that God will not take out of my cup to pour into others. If anything, He's going to keep pouring in my cup to pour into others' cups. And that's my harsh reality that I truly believe. That's not how my God operates. My God understands that I have a bigger mission, and my bigger mission is to help others. For those who are on my live every week who show the love, keep pushing the content, guys. I want to help so many other people. In order for me to do that, I'm going to need you guys, right? For the person that just ordered my book, who don't know yet, currently, the book is out. The book is called The Art of Reprogramming the Mindset. That's my book. For those who don't know, flash it, flash it, flash it, flash it. I talk about different things. Let me read a little insert in the book, right? I'm going to let y'all just read. I want to let y'all hear the intro. For those who want to hear the intro, please tell me they want to hear it. Give me 5 people that say they want to hear it, and I'm going to read the intro to the book. 5 people say, I want to hear it. I want to see it. I got 1. One person said, I want to hear it. I see 2, 3. I see 4, 5, 6, 7. Y'all going crazy. 8, 9, 10. Y'all all want to hear it. So let me let y'all hear the intro to the book. And I want y'all to hear this. It says, this book is a compilation of thoughts and observations I have based on life experience. Plain and simple, our mindset is the primary focus. In society today, many issues and problems persist amongst all communities and nationalities. One of the major identifiable issue and problem is a mindset. The mindset determines the results. The results are a conclusion of one's mindset. Mental programming is a reflection of people's mindsets. In most cases, one will become the product of the way they program their mind. The program of the mindset determines how one speaks about themselves, how they think about themselves, how they conduct themselves, and mostly how they represent themselves. Some people have poor results than others, and this can be based on mental programming. To change the mindset, one must reprogram their mindset. Let me ask y'all, one question that has always plagued my mind is, why do some people have great results and massive success while others fail and remain in a stagnated position in life? The answer I have arrived to is basic, simple formula needed to navigate life. how varying people embrace these formulas. In order to achieve great success and be a person of influence, one must at some point in life break the programmer's curse. To do so, one must reprogram their mindset. Reprogramming will force you to educate yourself, make sacrifices, and work hard in order to achieve your life's goals. This book presents many facets of reprogramming the mindset in order to achieve financial freedom, massive success, and basic life's happiness. I pray and hope that after reading this book, many people from all walks in life will reprogram their mindset, and in doing so, free the next generations to come from the programmer's curse. This is the book that I wrote, guys. It's called The Art of Reprogramming the Mindset. We're going to take one more caller, guys. This is the book. Flash it, flash it, flash it. Flash it. So the book is called The Art of Reprogramming the Mindset, Volume 1. We got another volume coming out very soon. Caller, what's going on, caller?
It's Dominic.
Dom, what's going on?
What's good?
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a dope show.
I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear a little bit.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Dope show. I like what you say about like having a positive mindset and like how you can't like have achieve positivity with the negative mindset, and you just got to be able to have that positive mindset all the way around.
You do. You got to look at the good in everything. No matter what your circumstances are, you got to always find the positive in it. You know, some people look for more negative in it.
Yeah, and I've been listening to that show last week that you did about entitlement, and like especially the part where I called in and you told me about like all that stuff actually kind of stuck with me. All that stuff stuck with me about like how you got to limit your access to certain people, especially the negative ones that are trying to bring you down. Like even if they're trying to help you, they may not be, and they may like they may perceive it that way, but you look at that and it's just like
you know what it is, Dom. What it is. If you know that you're
definitely right about a lot of things. I definitely took a lot of that in.
Yes, if you know you're a positive person, you just have to be mindful of who you allow access to you, because of the fact that negative people tend to want to bring you to a negative space. And ultimately, you allow to have access to you will ultimately become the energy you are. But Dom, I definitely appreciate you calling in, guy. We gotta get off here real soon. I appreciate you so much.
All right.
Yeah, so guys, like I said, the book is out, The Art of Reprogramming the Mindset. In order to change your results, you got to change your mentality. In order to change your mentality, you got to be mindful of what you're supporting and what you're listening to. Everything in life is about programming, right? And the more you program your mind to believe a certain mentality, the mentality will ultimately absorb this mentality, right? Change your mindset and you'll change the results. Expose your mind to new beliefs and you'll see that the mind will expand. The mind will never expand if you don't allow yourself to engage in different environments, different places, different things, and being around more positive people. Till next time, guys, I love you so much, and I just want you to know, don't let that go over your head.